you can't afford to live your lifestyle because your parents supplemented it and you're
Correct.
living on like double the amount of money that
Yeah.
you're going to make. The amount of times I click my phone, the amount of times I tap it, the amount of times I swipe my card and don't even think about stuff. There are people doing this every single day
Right.
that are in a
Right.
far different situation than we are.
The difference between financial stress and financial freedom often comes down to percentages. So rolling into this is spin-off, not a spin-off, right? We mentioned it in one of the other podcasts.
Yeah, we had some questions and Troy did some research on some of the stuff that we talked about where we were kind of comparing items.
Yeah.
Where we were saying that there are just so many items that are now universal regardless of
Your income.
your income level
Mhm.
and what people have. And I think it's really interesting when we kind of dove into the stats to see where people are really putting their money and kind of what are things that people like quote unquote should have versus what they do have.
Oh, yeah.
And then what are the alternatives?
Or things that people don't bat their eyes at when they see somebody with the same exact thing.
Right.
Because there's a huge difference in, I mean, one of the big things. Do we want to do statistics, or are we going to start talking about what those items look like?
I mean, I think just talking about some general items to
Yeah.
begin. So I mean,
The biggest one we've talked about before,
yeah,
even before we just like years ago, I can remember talking about the like smartphone
right,
and really like the iPhone.
right,
It's become universal, and it's like you don't not see that
yeah,
places.
yeah. There are different versions of it, but I think that for the most part, people are getting
Yeah.
the newest version. It's now something that it's crazy to think, but people are essentially financing their
Oh
phone,
yeah. Paying monthly for it. Yeah.
right, to just kind of pallet the fact that the phone is somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000,
Yeah.
which is it's now it's a mini computer. So from the standpoint of like what it can
Its
do,
capabilities.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm all for it. I just think that depending on where you're at, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if we know that the kind of mean income in the US is not insanely high, especially from where we live.
Right.
And Troy,
Right. I was
what do
gonna
we
say,
have
what
here?
is
We've
the
got
mean
what do we have as like the median income in
income?
the US? I know we've talked about this before, but I think it's like in the mid 40s, right?
Median income.
Yeah.
I thought it was
I think
83,000.
that's household.
Oh, okay. Medium individual income.
Yeah, median individual income in the US, I'm guessing is going to be somewhere in the 40s or like low 50 range.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're pretty on point with that. It says as of late 2024 to early 2025, it was 45,140 to 53,010.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you think about somebody spending $1,000 or $2,000
On the phone.
on their cell phone
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody that is
Which we know that's not probably the option if that's their income bracket. They are probably financing that phone. So
right,
then it's just a
but
monthly
they're paying it
expenditure.
and potentially paying interest on
Right.
it too.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's that side of it, and then you look at vehicles, and I think this is where I really start to
Yeah.
do the like crazy math in my head because there's not a vehicle that's
Mhm.
free.
No.
So whether you're buying a used vehicle, but let's just talk kind of like in the new vehicle realm.
Right. Right. Because this is pretty potent.
Yeah.
This is relevant, I'd rather say, because I just recently.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we both got cars. You actually got yours. I get mine in a couple
Yep.
weeks, but
Yep.
it's like a crazy experience. So you go into a dealer, you try to figure out what
Oh my
what you're
gosh.
trying to get, and it's like, all right, what am I trying to manage? Am I trying to manage the payment? Am I trying to manage like what I want
Right.
and the
Right.
safety level and all this stuff? And it's just
There's so many factors.
there are.
So when you sit down and you start to go through the numbers, especially, you go to a dealership and they're there to sell a car to you.
Right.
And they're there to sell a car at the max amount of profit that they can possibly get. So I think going in, and the biggest thing for me was safety. I know we had gone back and forth. There were
Right.
cars that I was interested in, but I was like, oh, that safety rating, like putting my
Yeah.
kids in that car. So that was a big factor. But then getting into the payment, and we won't go into this, but like leasing as opposed to financing and
Right.
that, and then going back and forth with the dealership on like what made sense for me. Because in my mind, it was all math, and I was
Right.
asking all these questions that they weren't prepared, but they obviously were very transparent in the numbers when it came to like laying out what that payment was
Yeah.
encompassing.
Yeah, and I think just talking in terms of generalities,
Yeah.
we if you're going and leasing or buying a new car, I don't think
Mhm.
it's unreasonable to say that y you might be able to get something in the, like, $500 range,
Yeah.
$600.
Yep.
But then you look at things that are kind of, like, more like luxury
Mhm.
brands,
Yep.
and then you think about the difference being, like, I don't know, maybe 1,500 or
Yeah.
2,000, and just kinda let's just use those numbers. So
Right.
let's just
Okay.
say that you can get a standard car
Yeah.
for $500 a month.
Yep.
And let's just say that you can get a luxury car
For 15.
for 1,500.
Mhm.
So the difference is 1,000 a month, but it's really percentage wise,
Of your income.
it's triple.
Mhm.
So in a world where somebody's making the median income
Mhm.
and $500 a month is coming out, we're talking about this being like somewhere over 10% of their
Yeah.
overall income
16.5%.
to
Yeah.
to kind of get this car. And then we talk about somebody that either like owns a business or somebody that's making
Mhm.
a high six-figure or seven-figure earner.
Yep.
That incremental $1,000 a month could be like very nominal. So in the scenario that Troy gave us, we
Yeah.
talked about somebody making $1 million and it's 1.88% of their income for a
Right.
$1,500 a month payment. So we're talking under 2% versus almost 17% on something that's triple the cost because the disparity
Yeah.
within
And the
the
income.
income is substantial. I mean, a million to
40,000.
40,000 is
Big jump.
what is that, a 25x
Mhm.
jump? So it's like it's just it's and that's kind of how stuff works is the cost of the luxury car isn't 15 times more,
Right.
it's 3 times more, but the income is a drastically different
Yeah. Yeah.
number. So I think that those are things whenever we talk about clients being able to save and wealth erosion and different things like that, earning obviously solves a substantial
For
amount of
sure.
problems. And I've always said that based on a family that has kids, they've got living expenses, they take their vacation, they do all of the stuff that
You would say, quote unquote, is typical what the typical
yeah,
family does.
yeah,
Right.
out of debt.
Yep.
So student loans paid off, credit cards paid off,
Right.
all of that stuff. Somewhere between like 250,000 and like 300,000 is when people can really kind of hit that tipping point of
Yeah.
becoming like good savers, saving the proper amount.
Right.
And that's like a huge number. There are so many people
Yeah.
that will never ever get to that point, and what we need to do is educate people on if you're not gonna get to that point, what you can do to kind of mitigate some of the things, and
Yeah.
buying and lifestyle inflation is a huge part of it because, again, I mean, we look at our cell phones, we look at our
Yeah.
cars, and even, like, handbags. Like,
Oh
I
my
see
gosh.
people all the
Mm-mm.
time, and I'm like even, like, at the office or in places that
Mhm.
I go around, and I'm like, "Okay, there's a large disparity in a lot of people's incomes," and, like,
Right.
people have, like, kinda the
Similar
same
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
like, similar
Yeah.
enough. So, I think that that's just it's something that, again, we kind of live
Mhm.
in a keeping up with the Joneses
Yeah, I
society,
was gonna say that.
and I think that it's really hard to avoid. Now, there are some people out there that, I mean,
Okay.
fully believe in, like, buying a used car and
Yep.
driving it into the ground and,
Yep.
like, doing things economically to save money.
Mhm.
They're just few and far between.
I'd say that's my husband.
That's
He's
my
very
dad for sure.
That's your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely my husband's like, "I don't care." And
Right.
I am to a certain extent, but then there is it's okay to want, like, nicer things and, like,
Absolutely.
quality. My thing is, like, how many if we're talking, like, handbags or even clothing, things
Sure.
like that, how many wears am I gonna get out of it? Like, that's how I cost breakdown. Like, if it is that top line seems like a little bit teetering on, like, "Well, is this really necessary?" Like, how many wears am I gonna get out of it if it's good quality? So, I kinda that's how I justify things in my head.
Yeah. I guess I don't really think about stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, I it's
You're just
so
like, "I want it, I'm gonna get
well,
it."
it's weird because, like, in the clothing world,
Mhm.
like, I went from being dressed up, essentially suit and tie
Right.
every day to now,
More
like,
casual.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the cost of my clothing is
Mhm.
down drastically. I wear t-shirts and jeans and hats, and so it's like
Yeah.
if I buy a ton of this stuff, I have to buy dozens of things to equal a
Right, a
suit that I would
suit.
wear in a
Right.
formal setting. So it's like, to me, like, it's, I don't wanna say it's like throwaway, 'cause I still
Mhm.
wear, like, the same stuff over and over
Yeah.
again. Like,
Yeah.
I'll have, like, a $20 t-shirt that I'll wear, like, all the time, and it's, like, starts to get, like, dirtier of holes, and I'm like, "I gotta throw this out and get a new
Yeah,
one."
but see, you've got the t-shirt that also costs more and you can get more wears out of it. So,
Sure.
yep. That was my mindset cuz like
Yeah.
even not to stay on like clothing, but you think about like for me for a long time it was like workout attire.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, you could just get this off of this store and it costs $35 or you can get this and it's $100."
Yeah.
But it's like if I'm paying the $100, it's lasting me years.
Yeah.
So, like, how many times do I have to buy the
Right.
$35 to
Yeah.
equate?
Yeah, quality versus
Yeah.
quantity for sure, and then kind of like the level of comfort when you're wearing
Mhm.
things. I mean, there's a ton that goes into it, and I just think that, again, from a lot of people's perspective, they look at the brand name or the
Mhm.
label
Right.
on the clothes, and that's what they buy. They're like,
That
"Oh,
is.
this is the cool thing," or "I need to
Mhm.
do this." And I think even from our kids' perspective, like, they're trained on brand and trained on these certain
Absolutely.
things. So they don't want the off brand of stuff. And then as they become consumers themselves, and we see it all the time, is we'll have entry level people come in
Mhm.
here and we're like, you can't afford to live your lifestyle because your parents supplemented it and you're
Correct.
living on like double the amount of money that
Yeah,
you're gonna make.
absolutely. I love that Troy put this up there because this is where we're at is the illusion of wealth. So they get
Yeah.
these name brands.
Mhm.
They get the cars, they get whatever it is, and, I mean, social media is a big driver of, like, what their lifestyle should look like if they're, quote, unquote, "wealthy."
Right.
So, that is, like, a keeping up with the Joneses scenario where it's like, "I want to look a certain way and portray myself a certain way, so I'm going to do this, and this." And a lot of people are going into debt because of it. They're trying to keep up with this, and it in my mind, I mean, people could say it's, like, worth it, but I'm like, I can't imagine seeing myself go into debt just to portray a certain.
And I'll be honest, I just don't think a ton of people know.
Yeah.
So even in my world of like, not micromanaging my
Yeah.
finances, but just in our world. I mean, from the business side, there's a handful of people that have access to money.
Mhm.
Like go out and buy lunch or go out and do
Yeah.
this or book a flight for me or do whatever. And then I have people in my family that can charge or can spend
Yeah.
money. And
Yeah.
then I spend money. So on a day-to-day basis, like I really don't
Know
know
what
what,
goes out.
yeah, like I don't know
Yep.
what goes out, especially more on the business side. Like I have an idea that like things aren't getting out of hand.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff that goes out, and I live in this business, so there are days where I'm like, "Oh, wow, like, we spent a lot, and then we just have
Mhm.
to make more."
Right.
But if I didn't have the ability to make more, or if I was
Right.
spending and didn't fully understand that I was spending and money was coming in and I was accruing debt, I mean, that's something that I just think is a knowledge-based thing because it becomes so easy. The amount of times I click my phone, the amount of times I tap
Mhm.
it, the amount of times I swipe my card and don't even think about stuff. I'm like, there are people doing this every single day
Right.
that are in a
Right.
far different situation than we are.
And we touched on this, and I love that. It was, like, that level of, like it's a barrier where clients can come to us, and they're like, "Actually, I have no idea what I spend a month." And then you kinda break down our job isn't to be like, "Now you must cut this, and this
Right.
out."
Yeah.
No, it's just like, let's get eyes on, like, where your money is flowing to,
Right.
and we're kind of that barrier where it's like, "Okay, great. This is what comes in." We kinda capture any fluctuations in that pay, and this is what goes out.
Yeah.
Um, so I love that we have that for people who are coming in and they sit down and they're just like, "I just charge every single day. I do this." And
Yeah.
yeah, it's credit cards make it very easy to spend the money.
And then there's stuff that again, I think we're programmed to think that so much of this stuff is necessity where
Right. Right.
if my phone breaks, like it happened to me.
Mhm.
I dropped my phone and it broke. Now
Yeah.
it was old and I hadn't gotten one for a really, really long time, but it was gone. And I'm like, I have to drive to the store right
And
now
get a new one.
and get a new phone.
Mhm.
Regardless of what it costs,
Yep.
I have to do it. And I think that that's a lot of people's situation and
Mhm.
maybe even more so with other stuff. Like there was a time I was on a trip and I don't know, I dropped my headphones. They're like in like one of those cases.
Mhm.
So I dropped it, just closed it and didn't realize that one of them was gone. So it was like left in the hotel room. And for me, I'm like, okay, that wasn't essential.
Right.
But
No.
if I needed those every day to operate,
Mhm.
like eventually I got a new set and I had older sets at home.
Yeah.
But like some people, they might be like, oh, I have to
I
go do
need
that.
it.
Now it's like another
Mhm.
2 or 300, or I mean, now they're like crazy. They're
Oh,
three,
yeah.
$400
Yeah.
for headphones. So there's just we live in a world where there's like not a ton of like cheap stuff
Mhm.
that people want.
Yeah.
I mean, there probably is, but people still crave the
The
higher
higher end.
end brand
Yeah.
name of what it is. And then
And in some cases, it makes sense. Like,
yeah,
I'm not against that. Like, it makes sense to spend a little more if you're going to, again, the quality of the product. Like, sure,
yeah,
it's okay to spend more if it's going to be a quality product and you're not replacing it every.
yeah. It's just what makes sense
Right.
economically. Like
Yep.
if you're the person that makes $40,000
Yeah.
and you have to pay for a car and you have to pay for housing, like
Yeah.
there's
There's
not a
no
lot of
wiggle.
money.
Yeah. Wiggle room
So
is tight.
right. So it's just like maybe you take the free
Mm-hmm.
phone. Like whenever you go and you do your plan, like you probably need a cell phone.
Right.
And there are a ton of options that people would consider undesirable, but that's like the free option.
Yeah.
Like you can do that.
Yeah.
People just don't want to.
I didn't realize there was a free
Yeah. Like there's like
option.
there all of the
Just buy the plan, you get a phone.
yeah, like all of the competitors
Yeah.
pretty much say like you can get this for like
Right.
for really for nothing.
Yeah.
And it's just everybody wants the one that you have to pay a large amount
Mm-hmm.
for. I go on trips and I see people all over the world and I'm like, all right, I know how much it costs to stay at this hotel. And there are
Mm-hmm.
people that are again, like I have no clue, but people probably of all walks of life
Staying there.
that are there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, was this a fraction of a percent of your income or
Maybe it
was
was their vacation.
sure.
Their one-time vacation, they stayed for a night. We don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But those are the types of things that
Mhm.
again, I think that just very different experiences that people don't take into account. We talked about
Yeah.
kind of like added cost of things.
Yeah.
So like going to like a trip to Disney, like that's close for
Right,
us.
right, right, right.
So people that have to fly down here, they have to stay in a hotel and then you get in the park and
Oh
it's
my
like
gosh.
hundreds, if not
Oh
thousands
my
of dollars of
gosh.
extra that you didn't plan for. It just happens. Troy pulled up like stuff like streaming services.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like that's pretty universal. So the amount of services that
Right.
I have maybe more, but like whenever
Yeah.
you sign into like XYZ streaming service, they're not like, how much money do you make? And then they
No.
charge you like
Based on a
right.
scale. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
There's very few things that work on a scale. Very few. But yeah, I mean, most people see that as I don't see it as a necessity. And it's not. It's not, you don't need that. But it is part of a lifestyle package of people.
Sure.
And so they're gonna ask. Yeah, especially because there's generally no more cable. Yeah. So you almost have to stream if you want to watch something, unless you go to YouTube, I guess.
Yeah. I don't, I, again, I think
Yeah.
I have so many different services because there's one thing that I want to watch and then
Uh-huh.
I get it.
And
And
then your
then,
daughter has something that she wants to watch.
well, yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I mean, this is like a crazy take, but when it was cable, people complained how expensive cable was.
Oh,
But
it's less.
But now I think it's
Yeah.
way less than if you
Mhm.
have all of these streaming services
Right.
because most people still have some level of
Yeah.
like basic cable. And yeah, it's like ultimately like which one do you keep and
Mhm.
what do you watch and how many times can you keep watching the
Right.
same thing over and
Yep.
over? And like I rarely watch TV,
Yeah, no.
but then whenever I travel, which is a good
You
amount,
wanna download a video, like a
yeah,
movie to watch on
right.
the plane,
So I need a
absolutely.
service because I'm like,
Yep.
okay, if I'm going to be in an airport or on a plane for
Yeah.
15 hours over the next 2 or 3 days,
Yeah.
Like, I need to be entertained. I can only listen to the same songs over and over and over.
Yeah.
So I like to have the stuff, and I like to kind of like catch up on things that I don't do during a regular basis, whether it's like a show or a
Yeah.
thing. And these services provide hundreds or thousands of different
But even
options.
if you had, like, I'm sure people are listening, they'd be like, well, why don't you just read a book? Like, yes, I definitely get that. But like, you
Sure.
can do like Audible. So like that's
Yeah.
also a service where you don't want you're maybe interested in several books. You finish a book quickly.
Oh
So
yeah.
like you don't want to be traveling with a bunch of books. So like that's another service that you can get where
Yeah.
your books are right there at your fingertips.
Right. And then that's like preparation too.
Yeah.
So like in my world, sure. Like, could I do
Mhm.
that? Absolutely.
Mhm.
Is that relaxing for me? For me, it's not. But it also means that I have to physically like go out and buy the
Mhm.
book.
Yep.
I don't even have like an Amazon membership. Like, you have to buy all the stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to do any of that
He
stuff. So
uses
it's
my
like,
Prime.
yeah. So it's like I don't even have the stuff because my whole goal is like I don't want to order just the
Yeah.
unnecessary stuff. I already do enough of that.
Yeah.
So if I just had an account where I could literally just click stuff and it just showed up at my
Mhm.
house every day, there's already a zillion things that show up at the office in my house that I
Yep.
don't want. So it's like whenever I need the one-off thing, I'm like, okay,
Yep.
like somebody in my house has it or somebody here has it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. If we're talking about streaming, like you need the internet to stream. So
Yeah,
like
right. Yeah, so not only do you have
that's
your
not
cell
on the
phone service,
scale.
but then
Yeah.
you have your cost
At
of
home
right.
internet.
And again, I mean, these are things that I don't even know. I wish like I mean it's bad, but I know what we pay for like commercial internet.
Yeah.
I don't even think I know what I pay for like home internet.
I think we have
But
like
it's
a
probably like
base.
50
It's
bucks.
$50
Yeah,
a
it's
month. Yeah.
which is
Yep.
like
It's
crazy.
pretty basic. And that's
That's
like the
for like the
basic.
bare
Yeah, it
minimum, like
is.
in
For
like
sure. Cause I'm like, I mean, we're both at work. The girls are at school. It's
Right.
like we don't watch a ton of TV. Um, so it's like we need the basic. And I'm like, yeah, we pay $50 for internet on top of the streaming if you want it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you get to the point where you're at $50 plus, I don't know, 2 or 3 $10 services,
Mm-hmm.
plus maybe you have basic cable. I mean, you're at like a couple $100 potentially for just like entertainment.
Entertainment, yeah. I mean, unless you work from home, of course, like that's a thing.
Yeah.
So,
And this is where again, like our world is so different because there's so much stuff that's essential
mhm,
to run my business.
right, absolutely.
So I look at my phone like, okay, that's essential. Like
No doubt.
so like I
Yep,
get that as an expense.
yep.
But somebody that doesn't, if you just work in like the W-2 and
W-2,
yeah,
yep,
like your $1,000 phone or
yep,
$2,000 phone
can't be
plus
written
your
off.
service can't be written
Yep,
off. My computer, my travel, my so much of the things that we do
yeah.
are just part of
Running a business.
running a business
Yeah.
and operating the way that we do. Even like this stuff. I mean, like we have all of this equipment here
Mhm.
that we use for the podcast. Like it's good because this is what it's used for, but also like if Troy needed to go and take pictures of something, we have like insanely high powerful
Yeah.
cameras that like
Mhm.
now you don't have to go out and buy it
Purchase,
yourself.
yeah.
So there's a ton of perks to kind of being able to buy stuff and
Yeah,
write it
and
off
write
and
it
then
off.
like just have an inventory of things.
Yeah.
But for the average worker that's making like the $40,000, it's like you go to work, you
Mhm.
make your money, you don't have the potentials in some cases to make
Yeah,
overtime or any type of
right.
like incentive bonus. And then everything is just backed out of your
Yeah.
check. Your health insurance, like my health insurance, regardless of if I make 40 grand or $40 million,
Mhm.
is the same cost.
Right. Yeah. I was just thinking, like, you were talking W-2, you're talking somebody making $40,000.
Yeah.
And we were talking about just the other day, you're just like, go out and make more money. I'm like, it for us, yes, absolutely.
Right.
Like that is 1000% possible. And in our market, there's definitely room for expansion there. But it's like you think we've talked about it. If we're talking like I don't want to single out a particular state, but because you lived there, we'll talk about Ohio.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
somebody there making $40,000 a year, you can't just say, "Hey, go out and make more money." You
No.
could,
Right.
but it's like where's the industry? Where is it going to be supported? Um,
Sure.
because we talked a lot about that one day where I was like, "Oh, we should talk about this on the podcast." You're like, "There's so much more to it," and I was like, "I know, like
Oh
we can get
yeah,
into it, but we won't here." But it's the disparities in just like location of where you live as far as income potential.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's why people have to travel all over the world. I think
Hmm.
now we've become more. I don't know what the word is, but you can be more remote in what
Right.
you do.
Right.
Um, I
Yeah, you
mean,
can use your. I mean, maybe they're like, "Hey, I'm using this expensive phone to make a side income because my 40,000, like who knows."
oh,
When we're
one,
talking about like
yeah,
disparities
one
there
hundred
is
percent,
that, but
yeah,
it's like maybe they're justifying this phone like, "Hey, I want to get into this because I'm able to." I mean, social media has opened the door for so many people to
yeah,
make income there. So,
yeah.
maybe it is expense for them. And they're working towards it. You got to have that growth mindset though.
Yeah, I think that for a lot of people, and we've seen it. I mean, we live in like a gig economy or a
Mhm.
side hustle world
Yep.
where more and more people are trying to make extra revenue to
Yeah.
make ends meet just because the cost of living or whatever the perceived cost of their living is
Right.
has gone up because they want to do so much stuff.
You said like this just jogged my memory, like side gig and side hustle. I something with my girls because like allowance is a
Yeah,
thing. And I'm like, you don't get money for being a part of this family. Like you're expected to like clean your room, do the dishes, vacuum, like walk the dog, all of those things. You I'm not paying you to live in this home and like not contribute as a family member. But now if you want to create value and you want to do like I call it like a side gig,
okay,
you want to do a side gig, like I'll pay you for that. Where I always tell them, I'm like, you just create value for someone, like serve them, create value, and like
sure,
people will be willing to pay you. I'm like, so you figure out what your side gig is, and then I'm gonna pay you some money for it.
okay.
That's how I do it. That's how I work. Like I'm like, it's not an allowance.
Yeah, I mean, in that world, that's like, I guess that's like mindset. In my mind, I'm like, I'm already gonna buy whatever the thing is anyways.
For
So if
sure.
I can just like get them to learn good habits and
Yes.
then like trick them into being like, I'm giving you money to buy this with your own money.
Right.
But at least then they make the decision
And they
of
do.
if they want to spend the money or not. Because if I'm
So
buying it, they're picking it every time.
they're getting it every time. But my girls have got to the point where they'll get on like Amazon and they'll be like, Mom, can you get this? I'll pay you back.
Yeah.
And it's like, because they have money, they're like, "You just order it and I'll
Right.
give you the money for it." And I'm like, I'm usually like, I don't need the
Right.
money.
Right.
But
Right.
like in their mind, they're spending their money, which I want
Right.
them to like understand and grasp.
Yeah.
Teaching money responsibility like earlier on. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't something that I had. And thankfully I was blessed with people around me who did have money sense kind of earlier into my adult life. But yeah, that's a big one for sure. Troy's telling us we should get this show on the road.
Yeah.
Are we veering off track there, Troy?
No, you guys are great.
So he pulled something up, but I can't see it because the camera's
The
blocking.
difference between financial stress and financial freedom often comes down to percentages. Yeah. So if we're going back to looking at the $1 million earner spending the 1,500 on a car,
Right.
and then the $40,000 earner spending $550 on a car. I mean the difference is in percentages, like in percentage of their income.
Right. Everybody has 100%.
Yep.
Like everybody's pie is the same. It's just how
Mhm.
big is the pie.
Right.
So when we start taking pieces away, it's just okay. For if you make more money, you can buy something, and your sliver
Mhm.
of the pie that goes away is just it's much smaller.
Smaller. Yeah.
So I think people need to think of it in terms of that. I know that
Yeah.
they don't. I mean, we're also combating an environment where most people are
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, you can buy up to this much house, or you can
Right.
buy up to this
Absolutely.
much car."
Right.
What I would say is outside of like again, I think cars and houses because they're two of the biggest expenses that
Yeah.
like the average person has. The disparity is not ginormous based on the spread of income.
Yeah.
So if you live like back where I lived in Cleveland, Ohio, like sure, there are a couple houses that are like several $1 million,
Mhm.
but it's like the difference between a $250,000 house and $1 million house,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know, a few hundred or a few $1,000s a
Yeah.
month in mortgage payment, but the
Right.
person could be drastically different. Like in Cleveland, $1 million house looks far different than a
Oh
$200,000
my
house.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you could still get away with like
Mm-hmm.
making a reasonable income and living in that, but the person might be struggling in the 250 or
Mm-hmm.
$300,000 house. Like
Right.
it's not like it's 0 to 10 or 15 or
Yeah.
$20,000 a month. And then you get into even like cars. It's like it's rare you see people driving like the Bugatti, the Ferrari, the
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Like people that have that clearly have plenty of money,
Yeah.
just like
Yep.
the people living in like a $10 million house.
Right.
But when we're talking about like normal stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's very reasonable that somebody making $500,000 or $600,000 lives in like a pretty reasonable house.
Yeah. Yep.
And then the person making $50,000 like could be their neighbor in
Could
in a,
be
in
their
a city like
neighbor.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Like down here, it's probably a little bit
Yeah.
different,
It's
but
a
it could
little.
be true.
Yeah. For sure.
So
Depending on when they got in the market in Florida.
yeah.
That's a big one for sure. But
So hopefully this helped a lot of people. Send in questions, send in things that you notice that people have that are the
yeah.
same, and you're like, I just can't believe that everybody has this. Like it's so
Yeah.
expensive or it's so cheap. Like there's a ton of stuff that I have that's super cheap, regardless of how much money
Yeah.
I had. I'm like, I just like this.
Yeah. Yep. Like your favorite store. What's your favorite store?
My favorite store? Phew, I mean, Walmart's up there for
Yeah,
sure.
I was gonna say it's
Yeah,
Walmart.
it
That's what I
is.
know of.
It is.
Walmart's his
It
favorite
has
store.
everything. It has
This is
everything,
not.
and it's easy to navigate.
This is not sponsored by Walmart,
No, it's just a great. It's
but
just
you can sponsor us.
they literally have everything.
We'll see you guys next time.
Registered representative and financial advisor, Park Avenue Securities, LLC, PAS, OSJ 14021, Metropolis Ave, Fort Myers, Florida 33912 239 561 2900. Securities products and advisory services offered through PAS, member FINRA, SIPC. Financial representative of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, New York, NY. PAS is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Alliance Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of PAS or Guardian. CA insurance license number 0M21715. AR insurance license number 158383330. 8811963.1 expires 328.